We've got so much show, I don't even know if we'll be able to fit it into one episode. We've got James Gunn fired from Guardians 3 and all the San Diego Comic-Con news. Iron Fist, The Gifted, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Cloak and Dagger, Spidey, and so much more. Marvel TV Weekly starts now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I would never speak over at least the intro of David Bowie. I have to speak over him at some point. Welcome to Marvel TV Weekly. I'm Christian Bladt, joined by our friend Xia Anderson. I want to start calling you Xia Landerson because that is your Instagram. Yes.
I'm kind of into that. I've been deciding more and more that I'm not sure how I like my last name with my first name. Maybe I'll just start going by Zealand.
Zealand.
Right?
There's definitely some kind of Zoolander parody that could go in there.
Right.
It's just the two of us tonight because
guys.
Amy and Kari are way cooler than either of us went to Comic-Con. And we do have a video from Amy that I will share with you. But due to some formatting, I'm going to have to play it on my phone and put it up to the microphone. But we will talk about all the Comic-Con news momentarily. If you are watching live, please join us in the chat. We have a very spirited conversation going on in the chat. Zia is keeping a close eye on it. Some of the chat has been about topics we will cover. And then there's also a kind of heated conversation about the Titans trailer, but that's not for this show. We can't comment on it.
Wrong one.
It's like Pulp Fiction. I don't even have an opinion, okay?
There you go.
But something that we should start with before we dive into all the fun and exciting San Diego Comic-Con news was the surprising revelation that James Gunn has been fired from Guardians 3, which is interesting because he was in the middle of writing it. So I don't quite know what that means. You know, is somebody else going to take over the script? Are they going to start over? That doesn't seem like the Disney way to do all that money. Yeah, to just, keep the money. We'll get somebody else to write it. Yeah. And we'll talk about sort of where the movie goes in a second. But the background is that he's apologized for several times tweets that are 8-9 years old. And, obviously you can certainly isolate the tweets and you look at them and you go like, oh, these are terrible things. Now, he was joking, but the problem is that ultimately this is Disney. And if there's even a whiff of anything improper to do with children, you can't let it slide. I mean, you have to act pretty swiftly on this. And as we saw with the Roseanne tweet from about a month ago, Disney doesn't drag their feet. Now, Xia, you and I were talking about this beforehand.
Yeah, I don't think he should have been fired. I also think that if that was going to be that much of an issue, do your research before you hire somebody. Right. And if it's going to be a problem, don't hire them. I think that
I agree in that they should just never have hired him. If they saw that and they're like, look, that could really be a problem. Mm-hmm. And I don't quite know, and it's another example of just what's with Twitter, everybody?
This is
Xia,
why I'm
you're
not
so
on
smart.
Twitter, guys.
You're so smart.
This is why.
You are never going to get fired because of Twitter.
It's true. I have a very twisted sense of humor, and no one will ever know.
Right, because it's just Instagram. It's just pictures.
Yeah, just pictures.
Fine. Yeah.
No jokes.
And, look, there have been a lot of people who've been in defense of James Gunn.
There's
people associated with the movies. There's a petition.
Yeah.
And, even the guy who started the petition says, I don't think this is going to change anything.
But he just hopes that people will stop jumping the gun.
And
you know what? I have to agree.
Well, I do think it's bad that we're at a point now where things that you said in the past are going to be used against you.
And it's also not fair to keep taking, and I see this happening not just with this, but with everything, because you can grow and become a different person. And condemning someone for something, even an opinion that they had years ago, is unfair because they could have easily changed their mind or learned something new or, it's just they might not be the same person anymore. You can't keep going after someone for stuff they did in the past. That's insane.
Not Marvel or comic book related at all, but a very comparable example is a pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers was pitching in the All-Star game on Tuesday night. And literally while he's on the mound, these old tweets from 6-7 years ago went out there. And in this instance, they were racist and homophobic. So
And legitimately racist and homophobic. Sorry.
Well, just some like LOL kind of stuff. So I think also jokes in poor taste, but it doesn't matter because, you know, again, you can isolate it. And, you know, you have to really, everybody has to do the due diligence. You know, if you hire somebody, you need to go through all thousands of their tweets and see if there's any problems.
I think Soto here says always do background checks. He is right.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think that it's just, and look, apparently they did, and he apologized back when Disney hired him. He apologized to Disney, and I guess people are upset because this was a groundswell of support due to a conservative online personality. But, you know, the problem is that he did write them. You know, it's not that they trumped... pun not intended, that they trumped up something that he didn't actually do. Unfortunately, he did, and yes, he was trying to be funny, but it's very easy to just like, well, look at all these, and, you know, you have to understand that they took like, I don't know, 12 tweets, and they just made one big image, and they're just, it was like hashtag walk away.
Well,
and
constantly taking things out of context.
Yeah, I was completely out of context. That's not the point.
Right.
Yes, go ahead. In the booth, Tony B. Tony.
I don't know how this might come across, but I mean, I just something about this gives me a bad taste in my mouth. Like the fact that I don't know, it just feels like Disney is kind of like bending its knee to what was reported by this blogger, Mike Servich, I believe.
Yeah, well, there's a couple actually, because there's also this Jack Prosabiec is also involved, and you know, because I host a show called The Trump Report, I'm familiar with who these people are, but most Marvel TV Weekly types probably don't.
Also, the same man who pushed for Gamergate and also Pizzagate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fact that Disney is going off of what he said, ends up firing James Gunn. It's pretty ridiculous to me. I don't know. I think it's like Disney dropped the ball on this one.
I think it's a bad precedent. I think that you just have to look at it from a business standpoint, and they just like anything that could cost them money and could hurt them. If they didn't act fast, I think they would rather fire him too quickly than have taken too long. I don't agree with Disney doing it, but I completely understand it. I'm not saying that I would do it. Yep.
Doesn't it go against what Disney like stands for with like most of the stories? Most of the stories it preaches about redemption in its own characters in the films that they talk about, that they release to society. Like, isn't it going against the morals that they try to teach society in the films that they produce?
Anthony, you know the genie's not real, right? I don't think that. I know, look, you're making a good point, but that's not how they look. These are people that count money and count more money, and they just go ahead. And you know, there was a popular meme going around the last couple days of, you know, who said worse things than James Gunn? Walt Disney. And I'm actually gonna, you know, he didn't say worse things about children. He just said bad things about unions, and you know, there's people kind of twist some of what he said about unions. But anyway, it's obviously not something that we can really do anything about. It seems unfortunate, and I don't know, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't work with him again, but it seems like he's out for Guardians 3, and there's already the questions of like, well, who do you replace him with? For me, the obvious choice is Taika Waititi, who did Thor Ragnarok, because he has the right sensibility for a Guardians movie.
And I think that he would bring that humor and that lightheartedness that it needs. And he obviously has done a great job with that already.
He did a great job with it in Thor Ragnarok, and I think he would definitely be able to do the tone for Guardians 3. So I guess we will have to see, but let us know what you think in the chat about all of this. If you know, and I'm honestly most interested in people who will say that Disney had to fire him, because I think the majority of people are saying that it was wrong. So anybody in the chat, whether you're watching live or after the fact, you want to leave a comment, I'm interested in anybody who feels like they had to do it. I'm not saying they had to do it. I just understand that it's a business and they made a business decision.
Zayas
Bilou. Yes.
He says, I'm not one of the fans who want to plug Taika. I like him. I just don't want a huge comedy fest like we've seen lately with Marvel in their films.
Well, yeah, I think Thor Ragnarok, Guardians 2, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, those are, I would say, the funniest movies. And, look, there's something to be said for that, but I think the Guardians have already established, if you did a Guardians movie with, say, half as many jokes, people would be like, hey, what happened to the Guardians?
Right.
So
I
think it's good to have the tone, and they balance it really well. I thought that there was good drama in both Guardians movies, and some of the best Guardians drama was in Infinity War. So I don't know. I think we can see that. Yes, Anthony.
I'd say I would have to disagree. I mean,
you think that the Guardians shouldn't be funny?
No. I feel like I feel like the first Guardians had the right amount of funny and the right amount of heart, and I think I value heart in movies rather than valuing comedy.
You need to have that balance.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
In Ragnarok, it just completely dropped the ball for me because
they
had no heart to it.
I have a friend, my friend Rob Lorch. He's a friend, mostly an online friend through radio, but I know him, and he disliked that movie because he likes Thor so much, and he didn't like seeing Thor turned into a clown. And I thought it was very funny. I thought it was a good tone for Thor, but I understand what he's saying. Apart from the issues when Thor got turned into a frog, typically Thor is not the funniest character in the Marvel universe.
He's unintentionally funny.
Yes.
To me personally.
He's very
I find him unintentionally
He's a
funny.
frog out of
him.
water,
yeah.
as it were.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can continue to talk about that in the weeks ahead, and look, if for some reason Disney changes their mind and James Gunn is back in, I would be glad to see that he's back. But if not, we'll have to have the search for who replaces him.
I have an honorable mention.
Yes,
I like Tim Miller for that one. Worked on Deadpool.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I just think that would be a good fit. Like
perfect
a nice
tone. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we have a lot of news from Comic-Con. So we're going to dive into it. Oh. And, when we were talking a couple weeks ago, I was talking to Xia, it's just going to be the two of us. We'll figure out what to talk about. Well, we don't have to worry. We have a lot to talk about in the remaining time. And I want to start the most important piece of news. The Iron Fist panel, we got a lot of information out of it, and the official teaser trailer for season 2 leaked. And for those watching on YouTube, you'll see it as we talk. We don't play the audio because I think that's how we avoid getting in trouble, right, Anthony? We don't play the audio.
We can show it, but we can't.
We show it, but we don't play the audio.
I'm going to show it right now.
Perfect. Right now.
Right now.
And so you get to see some cool stuff. You get to see Danny. Now, there is some footage that was shown in the panel that has not leaked out. And I don't know why people didn't film it.
To see it.
People didn't film it with their phones.
They said put their phones. He said at the beginning of the panel, put your phones away, and everyone did. I'm disappointed, guys.
There had to be somebody in the back with a phone. Come on.
Right.
Anyway, among the things that we see in the other footage. Now, this footage here is cool. I like watching Danny beat people up.
Yeah.
But in the footage that we don't have, he is wearing the yellow mask.
Yes.
So I'm very excited for it. Yes.
No way.
He's got the yellow mask on.
They're gonna have him wear it.
And I was talking to our friend Frank Moran from Box Office Breakdown a few moments ago before we started, and he was like, Iron Fist, could use some good press. You got to get that yellow mask out there. You should be showing it to people. And there's also
people would lose it.
There's also some great footage of Misty Knight and Colleen Wing teaming up and kicking ass.
We're getting it.
The Daughters of the Dragon, exactly.
I'm excited.
The article I was reading from Hollywood Reporter said, could this mean that a Daughters of the Dragon show is around the corner? Let's hope.
Yeah.
There's already talk that there's going to be a Hero for Hire show in addition to a Luke Cage and also in addition to an Iron Fist. So just keep them all coming. That's fine with me.
Yep. Cool.
We've already had Punisher spinoff from Daredevil, so let's just keep going with the spinoffs. I'm cool. Mm-hmm. And then there was also footage apparently of Colleen just beating up 4 dudes all by herself.
Which I'm totally into.
Oh, I'm totally into. And it's like probably could have been 8.
I was also reading that, easily. I was also reading that you see a little bit of her anger come out. And, because of all the things that she's been through. So we're going to see a little bit of that, which I'm excited about because when she gets mad, those fists start flying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in fact, I think that's actually the quote from the actress who plays her, which is that basically you don't want to get Colleen angry.
Yeah.
A little piece of news about Iron Fist Season 2 involves a piece of news that if our friend Michael Shirley were still here instead of in Tennessee, he would appreciate the fact that the actress Alice Eve has been cast as Typhoid Mary, whom I know best as a villain from Daredevil, but she's a great character, and I think that'll be very interesting to see how that factors into season 2. So from what we've seen and read, Xia, is your excitement for Iron Fist season 2 exactly where it was before all this, or are you a little bit more hyped up now?
No, I'm more excited now. Yeah, absolutely. Because and look, I'm one of those people that I actually enjoyed season 1.
You and me are it.
I
That's
know,
it.
we're the only ones. My fiance too, he liked it as well.
All right, so that's it. Well, the three of us will binge season 2 together.
And the whole world, yeah. So I was already, went into it watching it. It wasn't one of like my favorite seasons that I was like, oh my God, this is great. But I still enjoyed it. And those negatives that people saw as negatives, I didn't necessarily see as negatives, because the way Danny was, I feel like we needed to see that in the first season. Yeah. And it's going to be so much more refreshing to see the Danny that we're going to get in the second season.
Yeah, the Danny that we saw in Luke Cage and to some extent in Defenders.
Right. He needed that beginning story.
Because you always have to remember that, he basically disappeared when he was 15, and he's still, in a lot of ways, he's still 15.
Yeah.
By the way, the one thing I left out is we have a date for season 2, September 7th. So we talked about this a few weeks ago. I felt like Iron Fist was going to be the next season that we got, that we weren't going to get season 3 of Daredevil before we got season 2 of Iron Fist. But let's have Matt stop waiting around. Let's get to Daredevil season 3 once we get this.
I'm ready for Daredevil.
Yeah, which we will talk about that story a little later.
Yeah.
So very excited, and if in the chat, let us know if this made you more excited for. I don't know that I could have been more excited, but my excitement level was so high, and then I saw more, so it just reinforced my excitement. I knew that I was right to be excited, and that's how I feel. Anthony, did you see any of this stuff? Does it make you feel more excited about Danny Rand, or you're still like, meh, same?
You know what? You're my #1 source for Marvel TV news.
Okay.
And I just heard about it.
We should be everybody's #1 source for their Marvel TV news.
Isn't it just enough just to be mine? Anyways.
I mean, yes, it's true. It is enough.
Anyways, what you said has really piqued my interest. I have not seen the original Iron Fist season 1.
Oh,
yeah.
all right.
I have seen everything else apart from Luke Cage season 2 because I haven't had the time. But what you've said makes me want to, go back and watch it, even if it is on the background. I'll still watch it. I want to go back.
You just look up when there's fighting, and look. By the way, one of the things one of the things that they addressed was that I guess they have a new stunt coordinator, new fight coordinator, and they know what it is that people complained about. And again, part of the problem that they did have is that Finn Jones was, I think, cast like last of the leads. 3
weeks, I think, is all he had to train for that, which
so
I give the guy credit.
Now he's had like a year to train for season 2, so I feel like it's going to be better. And Colleen Wing, the actress name is Jessica Henwick. I had Jessica in my head, but I always forget her last name. I just wanted to give her credit. She's the one who said, you don't want to make Colleen mad. Yeah. Anyway, very excited. Super excited.
Some other people agreed with us in the chat. They enjoyed season 1.
Okay.
Inkin TV, Ghost 8386, Bria Goggins liked season 1 too. Thanks, guys.
Great. Well, we're glad to hear that. Yeah. Look, hashtag Team Danny. All right. we're gonna be all in and for season 2. There was another. So we already mentioned Misty Knight will be a part of season 2 of Iron Fist,
which I'm also very into.
Very exciting, and that allows us to kind of weave away from Comic-Con for a moment and talk about the latest episode of Cloak and Dagger, because as we did indeed reference a few weeks ago, Detective O'Brien had worked in Harlem with Misty Knight, and they actually went far enough and they said, did I ever tell you about my friend Misty? I'll have to tell you sometime.
Yep.
And I thought that this was another good episode of Cloak and Dagger. At this point, Xia, that's just never going to win you over, right?
There were parts of this episode I liked. It's funny because there were moments in this episode when Tyrone was trying to trick the cop, when he was, in his cloak uniform, he actually had it on, and when he was doing that, and then at the end when O'Brien comes home and her boyfriend's in the fridge. Yeah. So those were my 2 favorite parts of the episode. And
favorite, the guy in the fridge. All right.
The season.
So yeah, it's a good thing you're not on Twitter making jokes.
This is what I'm talking about. This is why I liked. It's too late for me.
Yeah.
So I thought if more of the show had more of that tone and more of that stuff going on, I possibly would have enjoyed it more, I think.
I agree that I liked seeing Tyrone finally with the cloak and finally able to use his power in some kind of way that he can control it. The one thing that confused me, though, was that Ivan Hess had no idea who they were at the end of the last episode. And at the beginning of this episode, he's like, "Hi, Tandy."
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we need like a line, some ADR, something that explains how, he didn't know them and now he does. And it's not in the way where, oh, she just has told him her name. No, he remembers everything.
Yeah.
And that was just like, that was such a disconnect. And I don't know if anybody in the chat noticed that. And, hey, maybe somebody read something that made sense. I think the thing that I found hard to believe in this episode, we're talking about episode 8 of Cloak and Dagger, it's called Ghost Stories, was the fact that O'Brien was on board with I'm going to make him think he's seeing a ghost. She's like, yeah, okay. And look, I get it. If he shows you he can do this thing, you're going to be like, well, that's weird. But also, you kind of understand that they're in a universe or a world where they realize that people have these kind of abilities. But she was just so on board so quickly.
Yeah, and she believed him immediately, which I found slightly unbelievable. That she immediately was like, yeah, I'm going to believe this just random kid that I know from this other girl who stabbed a guy. And I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. But it's also the fact that he can sort of like cloak teleport. I guess you're like, all right, whatever, dude. We'll give it a try.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, I have every indication that confession is going to be inadmissible for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I was surprised that they went in there and arrested him, to be honest with you. I thought he was just trying to mess with his head. Yeah. I didn't realize they were going to go in there with the intention of actually arresting him, because how would that hold up?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. There's only 2 more episodes of Cloak and Dagger left. And I did like there's a moment where Tyrone and Tandy are with Tandy's mom and they both hold her hand. And I actually wasn't thinking about the fact that would have happened. And then they see the dark side of her dad, Nathan Bowen. And I thought that was interesting.
It was interesting. It felt very weird, though.
Yeah, it felt very weird.
He was this nerdy science man with his tucked-in belt into his khakis who, like, backhanded his wife.
I'm also wondering if this, if maybe we'll find out that that's like, and look, it's never okay, but is it like the one time he hit her? And again, I'm not saying that it's okay, but maybe it's not a regular thing.
Right, he didn't like actually beat his wife. It was just he exploded from stress or something. Which again doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't make it okay, but
I see what you're saying.
Poor Hank Pym in the comic books got turned into a wife beater because the artist misunderstood the instructions from the author, the writer, and he literally smacks poor Janet Van Dyne the Wasp in the face, and then it turned into a whole storyline. There's actually a trial and everything. Because it was like a whack. So again, it sometimes it just happens, and we are not saying that it's okay. We're just saying that maybe it's not what Tandy's impression was. But she's going to take the money, or I guess she took the money and she put it in the statue already.
She was pissed after that.
I don't know. She should come up with something other than anytime she hides money, you're always like, it used to be in the ceiling at her mom's house. You're like, somebody's going to find that.
Ivan Soto says here, Christian Xia, Ivan Hess doesn't remember Tandy and Tyrone from his trapped mind. He remembers Tandy from when she was a kid. Is that what it was?
That wasn't the way that I interpreted it, but Ivan, you might actually be right.
Yeah.
I think that because they talk about how he was reliving the moment. They actually talk about that experience. So you might be right, and maybe I did not watch it closely enough.
Or maybe something happened that they're just not showing us. But again, show us, please.
I think that's probably what it is. We're gonna maybe need like a web extra deleted scene or something. And there was a Cloak and Dagger panel at Comic-Con, and the main takeaway from that is that it has been greenlit for season 2. And they're going to start production on it in the fall, so we'll see it next year. But I think that that's great. I know it's not Zia's favorite show, but this could be like another thing with Danny where you get the first season is kind of building it up. Maybe, and then next year, they're going to be Cloak and Dagger.
Maybe it'll be better.
Yeah, well, and I think that...
For me.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it because I like the characters so much. I think in season 2, they actually... when you can hit the ground and they're already Cloak and Dagger, I think that'll make for a better show. Let us know what you think in the chat. One of the things that there's some excitement about is an animated series. This was another thing that came out of Comic-Con. And there's this Marvel Rising show that will be on. But there's actually going to be, I guess, ahead of this full-length animated feature, Marvel Rising Secret Warriors. That'll be in the fall. But there's going to be 6 4-minute shorts that are going to be on Disney XD on August 13. And here's why I'm going to watch those. Because there's 6 4-minute shorts. So that'll basically be the length of an episode of Marvel's Spider-Man on Disney.
Can you not?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it, and it's interesting because it includes Ms. Marvel, who is a fan favorite, and somebody that I don't know if any of us quite get the appeal of. Zia and I were just talking about her, Squirrel Girl.
If anybody knows in the chat, please tell me, because am I missing something?
Just tell us why Squirrel Girl is so awesome.
Yeah, she's been everywhere, and I do not get it.
Yeah, and we'll also have Quake, as voiced by Chloe Bennett from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which will be great. Spider-Gwen, who is not actually called Spider-Gwen, as we've talked about, apparently Ghost Spider, Patriot, Tippy Toe, and America Chavez. So I think that this will be interesting. So these 6 4-minute shorts, it's called Marvel Rising Initiation, and they kind of want to tell us a little bit of a backstory before the big premiere. And I don't know, I think it's interesting, and I'm glad we're doing it. But Zia, you had a thought about what your problem is with a team like this.
For me personally, I see what they're trying to do, and I don't like it. I personally don't like that we're segregating and doing an all-women show. Why do that?
Right,
we're just segregating it more instead of letting it be. And I personally never thought that we had, everybody's like, oh, finally, female superheroes. I never thought we had a shortage of female superheroes. I grew up watching Storm and Rogue, and I mean, there was just a number that I thought were awesome.
The X-Men in the 80s, there were a few times where it was sort of, an industry joke of like, why don't you call them the X-Women? Because it was mostly females in Wolverine.
Yeah.
There were a few different times where members got shifted around to other teams, and it was predominantly, and great, strong women characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were also just great characters. It wasn't like, oh, they're women, so we got to put them in. It's like, no, they're just well-written characters with great superpowers and awesome backstories, and they work well within the storylines, and it feels natural. Why are we forcing things? Right.
And I let you have that opinion because it obviously works better when it comes from you. I'm interested to see some of those characters. And you know what? Maybe one day Squirrel Girl is going to win me over.
Maybe.
So far, it hasn't happened.
I'll watch them.
Yeah, because they're 4 minutes.
And DC, Ink and TV. DC has superhero girls as well. I know that's not what we cover, but
there absolutely are. Yeah. And in the Marvel comic books, there isn't a problem with having more female characters. The Marvel Cinematic Universe will not have had a female standalone movie until Captain Marvel in March. But let's be fair, by way of comparison, DC only had Wonder Woman last year, so it's like there haven't been like a ton of these other ones, and it's a problem with the industry of just having the movie industry of having female-led movies, action or otherwise. And you just have to basically be convinced that you can make money. And look, Wonder Woman made a lot of money. All of a sudden, the Black Widow movie gets fast-tracked.
Wonder Woman made a lot of money because Wonder Woman was a good movie.
Yes, exactly.
It was just a good movie.
And you're just like, oh, so if we make a good movie, maybe people will see it.
Come on, guys.
There's some more stuff to talk about from Comic-Con, but I wanted to visit with our friend Amy Cassandra Martinez on my phone because we were not able to figure out how to format it to play, but she took the time to film this lengthy 45-second video. So for those watching on TV, maybe on TV. You can watch YouTube on your TV. I do sometimes. Or on your laptop or on your phone. It's going to look weird because you're going to see me holding my phone, but I'm going to put it right up to the microphone so we can hear what Amy had to say because she was at Comic-Con and Kari's there too, but Amy had a little bit of time to film this for us.
I had an idea.
You had an idea?
I'm going to zoom it in all the way. So just hold it out. I'm going to zoom in.
You're going to zoom that camera in. All right, so I'm going to put it here, but it still has to go by the microphone.
All right.
All right, we're going to do it.
Do it.
And now I got to look at it so that I can do it. Because I pushed it like 8 times. Here it is.
Diego for San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, no.
Hi, guys. I am in San Diego for San Diego Comic-Con. We are wrapping up. Things have been crazy. There's been a lot of Marvel TV news that dropped. Gregg is coming back to direct another episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I'm excited about that. Chloe Bennett was part of 2 different panels, Marvel Rising and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Lots of movie news as well, which I'm excited about. Venom. I actually didn't get to speak with anyone from Venom, but I did get to speak to some of the directors from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and they're so fun. They're so excited. The Gifted, getting ready for season 2. I'm just excited about all things Marvel related, so I will see you guys later. Hope you guys are having a marvelous rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for filming that and letting us know. And yes, I wanted, because I know how excited Amy is about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I wanted to let her break that little piece of news. That's great that Gregg is going to direct the season 6 premiere, and all the coverage and everything you read about it is like, oh, that's great. He's going to be around to direct, because it sure looked like Coulson. Coulson's not dead. I'm sure he's going to be around. Not that I saw that. It's just he's fine. They'll figure it out. He's going to be fine. He's going to be with us. And also, we read that Deke was promoted. The actor who plays Deke, but Deke was promoted to series regular, and we only have to wait about a year for season 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I was glad to see that there was definitely some good news about that. There, Amy referenced Into the Spider-Verse. So there was some new footage from that, Anthony, if you can play a little of that while we talk about it. And this is a Miles Morales Spider-Man. It is not Peter Parker.
So excited for this. I
am excited because it's different. And the style is really kind of cool. And we've seen this before.
Like this style,
yeah, this sort of like almost 3D. It's not 3D, but it's sort of this textured style of animation. And I think it looks really cool, and it's interesting. I like that we're getting this whole Spider-Verse approach. And this is the way that if you're going to try and get Miles into some form of movies, you got to do it animated. And I think that that's been discussed on this show before, that it seems like a great way to introduce moviegoers and, non-comic book readers to the character of Miles. And so we're going to see a number of Spider-Men, because it is the Spider-Verse, and I believe Spider-Gwen, and all sorts of iterations, not indications, iterations.
I thought I heard that one of my favorites that I heard of is Spider-Man Noir is going to be played by Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was pretty psyched for that.
And I know that I might be in the minority here, but I really not Nick Miller, the actor who
Jake Johnson.
Yeah, Jake Johnson
fantastic.
I love him.
He's Spider-Man. Yeah,
he's gonna be Spider-Man. He plays Peter Parker, who's an older Spider-Man. Yeah. With he said the chubby Spider-Man.
Like a bummy. Yeah.
I'm actually kind of excited to see that.
And tell me if I'm wrong. Is Jake Johnson the actor from New Girl?
Yes.
Yeah. He's great. He's Nick.
Yes.
Nick Miller.
He's great. That's why my brain was Nick Miller.
Yeah, he's great. As the idea that he would be this sort of older Spider-Man, I think is great.
It's perfect.
So there's so much, I don't know, this is just such a different kind of story.
Yeah.
It looks different.
I'm very interested
I think that this is going to be pretty great. I'm excited about it. And it's sort of like something that's largely been below the radar until really a couple months ago. And now we're getting to see a little bit more. So I don't know, I'm excited.
I will definitely be seeing it in theaters.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't want to wait. And of course, then they show Spider-Gwen at the end here.
She was on my list of awesome, and I don't know that much about her either. I just really like her costume.
Most people don't know much about her. They just saw that and it's like she's got a hood. It's cool.
I love the hood.
Yeah, so that is some exciting Spidey news, and I just want to take a moment. We're going to talk a little bit about what will for about a month be the only ongoing Marvel property on television, which is Marvel's Spider-Man on Disney XD. And we thought we were going to talk a lot about that this week. And then, of course, as it turns out, there's a million stories out of San Diego Comic-Con. Yeah. Because the whole thing was that Marvel's not really at Comic-Con. They're saving it. They always save it for D23. But there was a ton of Marvel news that came out anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess basically what it is that they were saving Avengers 4 and Captain Marvel for D23.
Which is fine, because we get all the little... I can wait for that. Yeah. I don't mind.
No, that's fine. I was excited to find out when Iron Fist was coming out. I watched a few episodes of Marvel's Spider-Man and Disney XD. It is
3.
Definitely for kids.
Yeah.
100% for kids.
I'm glad that you agree with me on that one.
I also didn't, because I didn't see the first season at all, so I started with the second season so that we could talk about it on the show. Mm-hmm. And I saw that Miles Morales was on the show. I didn't know for sure until like 3 episodes in that he is also Spider-Man on the show. I just thought that was like, is he just his friend?
That's what I thought also.
Yeah. And then you see him as Spider-Man, like, this is great. We got two Spider-Men. This is what I want.
I actually saw the episode in season 1 where he gets his powers, and it's like the most. It was kind. I don't know. It's kind of annoying. I don't know. I'm not really too familiar with the character in the comics.
The Miles Morales version.
Yeah,
that's definitely after my time, but I know people who are excited about it. And go ahead.
The way they played him in the show was like he was just like a really irresponsible goofball who just like, I got these powers, I'm gonna go like beat up these kids that were bullying me earlier today. And Peter's all like, no, you can't do that anymore.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, it's like the whole episode is Peter's trying to like teach him.
But Peter also had to learn that the hard way.
Exactly.
Because Peter was a jerk when he got his powers. You know, the guy who goes on to kill Uncle Ben just runs right by him. He's like, hey, not my problem. So, you know, that's why with great power comes great responsibility. So anyway, so we'll talk more about this in the weeks ahead. What I like about this show more than anything is the characters that we get to see. We saw Silver Sable in an episode. Ms. Marvel's in an episode.
Doc Ock.
And Doc Ock. And let's see. Black Cat was in the first episode. So I don't know. I like getting to see these characters.
It's cool.
You know, there's obviously a lot of talk about the Silver and Black movie being in development for Sony. So these are characters that they definitely want to kind of be out there. And I don't know. I think it's good. I still feel like it's a little old for my 3-year-old. I don't quite know when he can watch it, but I'm just like, when can he watch Spider-Man?
6, 7?
Yeah. I think that's actually the rating that it has is the TV 7.
You know what I don't like about it though is, and this is probably because it's for kids, the art style. I don't like the art style because it doesn't say comic book or Spider-Man to me.
No, it's like the manga Japanese animation style. What do you think, Anthony? Do you like it?
I was about to say it's the most disappointing art style I think out of most Spider-Man shows, and I've seen a lot of Spider-Man shows, even like the MTV one that was on for a while, and that was like 3D, like cell shaded kind of looking thing.
I did not see that one.
Yeah, no, I didn't even see that one.
They had that, and also I don't know if that
the
was
Ultimate Spider-Man series from a few years ago, I thought had great animation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That was much better, but like again, that was a bit too kiddie-ish because I also hated the whole like the cutaways to jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I did really appreciate the cameos in that show as well.
Yeah, because the one that I saw, Vulture was in an episode.
Vulture was in there.
Yeah.
Ghost 8386.
But with Ultimate Spider-Man, I mean, you would see Nova and Iron Fist, and you got to see Power.
Yeah.
So if this show does that, I think that'll be a nice compliment to it. But anyway, we'll talk more about that in the month of August when it's the only Marvel TV that
I want
we have.
I want to rank all the like Spider-Man animated.
That's a great
we will do that. We'll do a whole episode of that on August.
There's a lot of them.
If I forget, but now you have to count the one from the 60s, the one with the Spider-Man does whatever Spider can. Yeah, we need to start with that one.
Okay.
That is going to be one of the worst. But Spider-Man His Amazing Friends is going to be ranked way too high for me because I watched it when I was a kid and I loved it, even though I know it's not great.
That's okay.
There's some good stuff in there. Anyway, so we'll talk more about Spider-Man TV in the weeks ahead. Yeah. But we stay sort of in the Spider-Verse for a movie that will not actually feature Spider-Man, so we're told. I still feel like there's going to be a cameo of Tom Holland at some point, maybe at the end of the movie. But Venom, we got some more footage from Venom, an actual trailer. And it's interesting because it's sort of like if you read current day Marvel Comics, Venom is, he's a little bit more anti-hero vigilante type than villain, because he was just flat out villain before. And in Amazing Spider-Man number 800, Venom actually helps Peter Parker beat the combination of Carnage and the Green Goblin. This is very convoluted, I realize. But the Black Symbiote actually goes back to Peter Parker for the first time in like 500 issues. And it was actually kind of a cool thing to read in the comics. So anyway.
I have to check this out.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 800.
800,
it's like,
okay.
It's like 80 pages, and it costs like $10. Costs like $10. So you know, or
completely worth it.
I could let you borrow mine. Anyway, so I think it's interesting that we're getting sort of this. I don't want to call him a good guy, but we can play some of the footage while we talk a little bit about it.
Anti-hero,
I think it's interesting. I like this idea. And it'll be, I don't know, I think it'll be interesting to see how you tell the Venom story without Spider-Man. Obviously, you don't need him. I think it would have helped.
Yeah.
But
I was very, very iffy on this when I saw the first trailer. I was like, this could go either way. But the more I'm seeing about it, the more I'm getting a little more excited. I think that it might not be bad.
I gotta say, like, the whole Spider-Man not being there, like, you can't have another hero beat up the hero in the film that we're watching, you know? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm, like, totally fine with having Spider-Man just be completely out of
I think if you're not going to have him in it, don't have him in it. And here's the thing. It's like, you know, he's sort of like an anti-hero, but there's definitely worse powers at work here. You can kind of see there's some sinister goings on at this company.
Yeah.
And also, I think that Tom Hardy is a great actor.
Oh, fantastic.
So I think he, you know, even if I had more misgivings about this movie, the fact that he's in it, I'm like, I would be inclined to check it out.
And you know what? The look the Venom that they created, I'm actually very impressed with that.
Yeah, have you seen that picture?
Yes.
Oh
yeah, when we finally get around to seeing him, and you know, I like that we hear the Venom voice talking to him in the course of this trailer. And I don't know. I mean, and this is coming out in October.
Yeah. Also,
I completely forgot it was that soon. So this is coming out before Spider-Verse. We have so much Spidey-related things that I wasn't even ready for. What were you going to say, Anthony?
Oh, just a fun fact. It's actually Tom's voice as well. Tom Hardy's voice.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
And he also is quoted in the interview saying, because this is actually a rated R film, saying that you will see Venom bite heads off.
Oh no, they said that in the thing, which I am so excited about.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And I want to see Venom just tear people apart, and that's even if I see that just for a couple of scenes, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that's the Venom we need to see. You know, if doing a standalone Venom movie, having it be R-rated, I think I think it's going to work in a lot of different ways. And I have been a little bit unsure about this project until this trailer, but as we see right now, if you're looking on YouTube, we just saw the Venom face.
Awesome.
I'm excited. Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
This one did it for me.
Yeah, I think that this put it over the top for me too. So we will check that out in October. So that's some footage that we got. And for longtime viewers of this show, Marvel TV Weekly, you know that we've had kind of a complicated relationship with The Gifted. And myself and our former regular panelist, Michael Shirley, most weeks we would talk about how much we hated The Gifted. We just flat out disliked it.
Look, I couldn't even watch it.
But it built really the last few episodes, probably the last 6 episodes, they started telling a different story and they built really well because they didn't know if they were going to get picked up. This trailer for season 2 that we can start playing really anytime, we'll play for those watching on YouTube. I think that for the most part, what they've got going on looks cool. And I don't know if they've isolated the only special effects in the whole season, but it looks like they're spending a little bit more money. And that was part of the problem with the show, was that they didn't use the powers enough. They weren't going up against powered people. And I agreed with Michael about Polaris and most of the season. She was just such a drip. She's kind of a lame character. She is such a cool character in the comics, and we're starting to see that with her kind of joining the Hellfire Club. So we're going to have the Hellfire Club, the Inner Circle. But what I'm most excited about is that we're going to be introduced to the Morlocks, who are the underground sewer-dwelling mutants who are a little bit more extreme cases of mutants. You know, they're the kind that can't really hide out in public.
They don't look as good.
Right. I mean, you've got your Nightcrawler in your comic book X-Men, but he was able to put on a hat and a coat and I guess hide because his skin was dark. Yeah. But you have people that are a little bit more disfigured. They don't blend into society. So I'm very excited that we're going to get to see the Morlocks.
I might watch it just for that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, here's what I'll say is when season 2 of The Gifted starts, they'll do a nice recap. You could probably just jump in there.
Just skip season 1?
Yeah, you go ahead and skip season 1. There's things I liked towards the end of it. Sort of the realization of the brother-sister combination. Lauren and Andy, and I look forward to kind of seeing where the story goes. They made it look really cool, and I love that Thunderbird is on the team, and I think we're gonna get to see a lot more. And I think that they realized, look, said the same thing about Iron Fist. They realized what people had criticisms going in to season 1. And I think that they're addressing a lot of that, and they're going to do something about it in season 2. So I don't know.
I appreciate that.
You feel like you'll check it out,
Yeah,
Xia?
possibly. I mean, especially if I can just skip over season 1.
Yeah.
We get to see some Morlocks. That's just my childhood being like, ooh, yes, I want to see that.
I mean, if there's not a Callisto, then they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we need to see. And, you know, in the panel for The Gifted, people asked about some of the mutants that they wanted to see in season 2. Somebody asked about Wolverine, and they said no.
Well, of
but
course not.
you will see, you know, you won't see the characters from the movies, but you'll see some very familiar faces. So I'm always excited to just see how they pull off, you know, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So obviously, there is so much news about Marvel TV and movies going into and out of Comic-Con. We'll talk about a couple more comic book things, and I don't know, I assume, Anthony, we're going to have to wrap up after that because I see now what time it is. But
oh, wow.
yeah.
That was fast.
That was
so
really fast because we had so much to talk about.
Yeah.
We had a topic that I don't think we're even going to get to today. In fact, I know we're not going to get to it, so we're going to save it.
Notes. We'll
but
save it
we'll do it for next
time.
week, and we'll let Amy and Kari join in. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, so we're not going to be selfish and keep the topic all to ourselves.
Yeah.
So just very quickly, there was a panel. You know, Marvel will sometimes, you know, partner with this company IDW to do a series for younger readers. They have a Star Wars, which, you know, Marvel obviously being part of Disney, they have the rights to Star Wars comic books, but there's a series for younger readers, a Star Wars for IDW. And yes, I have looked at that to see if it's good for my son because they had a free comic book day issue. So, you know, always trying to see how I get it to work. So there's going to be some series starting in November for what they call middle grade readers. So it'll be interesting because there'll be a Spider-Man series and it'll feature Peter, Miles, and Spider-Gwen. I like that because then it's like, hey kids, look, Spider-Man for everybody.
Yep.
You know, you might look like one of these, you know, so you know, odds are this is good for you. And there'll be an Avengers series with Captain Marvel will be on the Avengers, of course, always planning ahead towards the next movie. And there will be a Black Panther series. So, you know, just sort of a little aside. But the final thing that I want to talk about is I'm very excited about, they announced a series of Marvel Digital Originals. And for fans of the Netflix series, these characters are all going to sound very familiar because there is an aforementioned The Daughters of the Dragon. Great. I'm all in on that. I want to see Misty and Colleen, you know, just kicking as much ass as possible.
Absolutely.
There is also an ongoing Iron Fist series and a Luke Cage series. So it's literally all these characters that we've had this year from Netflix. And I like the idea that these are digital comics because, you know, they're designed to be digital comics. And they make very clear that these are part of real continuity from the printed books that come out, you know, in the comic book store. So these aren't, you know, some like alternate reality, whatever kind of nonsense, digital only. These are going to tie into the printed comics. And I don't know, I think I'm intrigued by the idea of having digital originals. What do you think, Xia?
Oh, I'm excited about it. Because also I was going to bring up, have you ever read comics on your laptop?
Yes. Well, I've done it on actually the iPad that you're using right now to read the chat. I've used it for that, and I've used it for the laptop. Yeah, I've read some Amazing Spider-Man issues, and I've read a bunch of different things.
It's awesome. And just as you click over, it goes from scene to scene.
Yeah, I like when they move like that.
So effortlessly, and you get to really see everything, which I just like because it's less chaos for my eyeballs.
Yeah,
and I can just look at one at a time.
You know where you
know
to
exactly
focus.
where you need to focus. Yeah.
Also, one of the things, like since I've been reading the Dark Phoenix on my iPad,
yes,
I showed Christian. I asked him, do you ever like take shots of like your favorite frames that you see just like on the while reading? And that's what I do too. And you're able to like take a snapshot, and then you're able to crop the image, and then you just have that picture like right there in your iPad.
That's
forever.
awesome.
Also, the fact that I've been watching Marvel's Spider-Man from Disney XD, I was watching it on my phone. Did a couple of screen grabs of some fun Spidey action because I was like, oh, it'll be fun to have.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can get some free images, but yeah, that's kind of cool to do that. So I'm excited about that. And again, there's something appealing about digital books because they're not going to take up physical space.
See, and I'm surprised at myself for even having that opinion, because normally I do not. I'm a book person.
I am definitely a book person.
Love books.
I'm also an old man, so I like to get my music on CDs because I like to open it and I like to look at it and see and read. Well, I like to look at the cover. I like to read about it.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot. I don't like vinyl, but I like to open up. It's because a CD you can put into your iTunes. That's why it's a logical. But anyway, so I like having physical things too. I like having books. I've never read a book on a Kindle.
No,
I had a Kindle, and I was just like, I don't want to do that.
No.
But I like the idea of these digital only comics because it's the only way to read it.
Yes.
Anyway, we just blew through so much news. We might need to dive back into some of it next week and kind of reabsorb. We'll also find out some of the things that both Amy and Kari were able to see and do while they were down there. And obviously, if there's anything that jumps out of the chat, let us know, Xia, before we wind everything up. Go ahead.
Ivan said Mr. Jip will be in Cloak and Dagger season 2.
Yes.
Which that's awesome. And Ivan also said that Bridget O'Reilly will become Mayhem in season 2, which I also kind of had a feeling was going to happen.
Yeah, I felt like we were going to get that. There was a Legion panel, by the way, and there wasn't any real news about it because they couldn't really talk about it.
I feel like it's too far away.
It's too far away, and it's all too uncertain. I think, Dan Stevens didn't even know. Like, he learned things while they were talking. So, so I'm just pointing out that that's why we're not really talking about it. But anyway. All right, so that was fun. And I'm exhausted, but I'm so excited.
Yeah, so much.
I think that's why I'm exhausted, because I'm so excited. I've sort of had all of this stuff to be excited about. And, look, this is just the Marvel stuff out of Comic-Con. Whew, there's a lot of other stuff, too. But anyway, so we will be back next week. We will talk about some of these things and more. We will, at that point, we'll have the penultimate episode of Cloak and Dagger. So we're almost done with season 1 of that already. And so much more. But like I said before, if you're watching after the fact, go ahead and leave a comment down below. You can also give us a like, subscribe on iTunes, and always let us know what you're thinking. Rate and comment. That always helps us with the show. But until next week, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And Xia, not on Twitter because we already talked about what kind of trouble you get into. But where do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Xia_lands, because that's just what I'm going to go by now, guys. And also Zealand, yeah. And if you feel so inclined, I will also be on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. doing Castle Rock.
Oh, the Stephen King universe. Yeah. Oh, good for you. Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for that show. Has that show premiered yet?
No.
Okay, great.
This Wednesday is the first show.
Great. I'm actually looking forward to that. I think that's going to be great. And by the way, let's not forget in the booth, Anthony at TonyBTony_. Heyo. And thank you for helping us out. Anthony, you're always welcome to talk, but I'm glad that you saw that there's only 2 of us and you felt comfortable joining into the conversation. So thank you for your help, too.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And where would we be without you? And thank you to Amy for sending a video and letting me hold it up to the microphone. Anyway, we will be back next week, same time, same channel. That's at 10 Pacific on Sunday. Until then, Excelsior!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.